And we'd like to welcome to the Soul to Soul virtual studio, Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I feel very honoured to be in your presence.
Well, thank you. It's a great privilege for us to have you here. Now, we'd like to start by just explaining a bit about who you are for our audience and what you've achieved. Tell us a bit about your background.
Okay. There's a lot to my background, but just to do the basics, I'm a healer in Melbourne. I've been in private practice since 1995 at Angel Wings Healing. More recently, I've done a #1 best-selling book on Amazon called Embraced by the Divine, The Emerging Woman's Gateway to Power, Passion and Purpose. And this has been an incredible journey, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more about later on. I've also done a number of tours to Egypt. I feel that Egypt is my soul home, and I'm a lot of my healing abilities I feel come from ancient Egypt. And I have taken a lot of tour groups to Egypt. We've done spiritual healing groups through the chakra systems, through the temple system of Egypt, and had some absolutely incredible experiences. The last one of which was so profound that I knew that my work was going to change forever. I had a slip, a nasty slip, broke my shoulder, and that was the turning point where most of what I've been doing, I just had to stop. I couldn't do that anymore, and it was when I was guided to take my business online. So I now have clients around the world. I do a lot of sessions via Skype and also international phone hookup and a lot of radio interviews and things. So it's been a really fantastic journey. And some of the things that I do in terms of healing modalities, when my main work is about empowering and inspiring women to be their best. And I do that through helping women to get through limiting beliefs, energetic blockages, blind spots and so on. And I do that with a combination of energy scanning, angel-guided spiritual healing, soul retrieval therapy if it's necessary, clinical hypnotherapy, and more recently my Radiant Circle group. So I do a lot of different things,
yes,
and it's always expanding. So.
Now let me just take you back for a moment. You mentioned before that you broke your shoulder, was it?
Yes.
And now this is something that keeps coming up in so many of our conversations with people, that they quite often go through some sort of personal crisis or some sort of health issue, which completely changes the direction of their life and leads them somewhere where they never thought they would actually be. This obviously seems to be the case with you as well.
Absolutely. Look, I know that I'd been getting a lot of gentle nudges along the way. You know, I call them my angel nudges, that what I was doing was just burning me out. It was draining my energy. I was doing a whole lot of stuff that I didn't particularly enjoy, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And of course, I could have asked for some higher guidance, couldn't I? But you know, they're knocking on the door. Yeah, it seems so simple afterwards. But I'm sure that I'd been given a lot of nudges along the way of, no, this is not right. You need to stop this. You need to refocus. And one of the things I was doing, which I was not enjoying, was doing work with disability clients, and I just didn't enjoy the nature of the work at all. So when I slipped and broke my shoulder, it was, okay, I can't do any heavy manual lifting anymore, can I? Oh, wow, that's all wiped off completely. So, yeah, things like that. And it really was, it was that point where, okay, I can try and pick up the pieces and go back to what I was doing before. Or let's say that, no, this is a transition point. This was the cut-off point between what I was doing before that I wasn't enjoying. Let's take what I was enjoying and move it forward. And how can we evolve this to a higher level?
So you had been doing some of this work prior to the shoulder injury?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You just took it to another level, did you?
Exactly, yeah.
Fantastic. So let's go to the book, because the book's absolutely fascinating. I've only just finished reading it, so I feel like my head's still swarming with all the details and everything. This is a combination of people's stories, or women's stories, which are very inspiring, to say the least. How did this come together?
Oh, wow, that's a great question, Steve. I'm so glad you asked that. With the book, I guess, a lot of us have this thing way in the back of our mind, or maybe one day I'll write a book and it never goes anywhere. So I guess I had that way back in my mind somewhere. But anyway, one morning, summer morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm out watering my garden. The sun's just coming up and I'm in the zone. I'm just in a nice, chilled, relaxed kind of space. And suddenly I got this really clear angelic guidance coming through. And it was, you are to write a book. You are to call it Embraced by the Divine. It's to be an inspirational book for women, by women, and you are to choose women of a particularly high resonance to co-create this book with you.
Yeah, for our audience, high resonance, what do you mean by that?
Ones who are on a strong spiritual path, who have done a lot of work, who are perhaps more evolved than the normal everyday Joe Blow in the street, who are awake, aware, on a very high level, who've done a lot of work, a lot of personal development work and so on.
Yep.
So that, here's me, I'm holding the hose, my jaw had dropped open and it's like, oh my God, me? You want me to do this? And it was because the guidance had come through so clearly that I knew it wasn't something I could ignore. I had to go with it. And there were many times along my journey from the initial guidance to the actual completion of the book where if the initial guidance hadn't been so strong and so clear, I could easily have given up and said, oh no, this is all way too difficult, I can't do this. But it was that sense that because the guidance was so clear and so strong, that the higher realms had faith in me that I could pull this off, even if I didn't have that much faith in myself at times. So I just had to keep going back to this. If I'd been chosen because it was important to get this out there and they had faith that I could do this, then I just had to keep asking for guidance. Okay, this is way out of my comfort zone. What do I do next? As I describe myself, I'm a healer. So, this whole thing of getting the book together, publishing, editing, marketing, it was, whoa, I don't know any of this stuff. So it was a big journey. I just had to keep surrendering and saying, show me step by step what it is that I'm supposed to do. Guide me. You have faith and trust that I can do this. Please show me. Please handhold me. And sometimes I just asked to be physically wrapped in angel wings. When I went into places of overwhelm, I just needed to feel safe and loved and supported.
Yeah.
And there were certain people around me that were not being particularly supportive. It's, yeah, sure, she's going to do that. Yeah, like she's going to write a #1 bestseller. Yeah, sure, and
there's always the naysayers. Isn't
exactly, yeah. So luckily I had some beautiful people as well who were very supportive. But there were definitely times where I felt it was a very lonely journey doing this. And I just needed to be held. Also, writing a book is one thing. The writing of the book came together within 4 months. That was easy peasy. The selection of the people for co-authors, I approached women who were already in my network that I knew, from 4 different continents, women that I knew were an absolutely perfect vibrational fit for the book.
I was going to ask that. Did you approach people you didn't know, or they were all people that you had?
People I knew.
Right.
Yeah. There were a couple of them in the book, and they were very close connections of people that I was very closely connected to. So there were a couple that I didn't know directly, but that were introduced to me, and I thought, yeah, they're fine too. But yes, suddenly being the leader of, initially it was 18 very powerful women, all in their own respective right, a whole lot of different personalities. There was this whole aspect of, okay, how do I step into this role of being a leader? How do I bring this all together? How do I bring all these women into a place of harmony and balance?
Yes.
Maybe there were a few egos that needed, smoothing down a little bit. And
yeah.
So for me, being thrust into that role of leader was quite uncomfortable, but it was something that I had to do and I had to master. So that's the journey since writing the book. That's a whole other book in itself. That's been quite phenomenal.
I can imagine this is an incredible journey, especially for someone that hasn't done this before.
Yeah.
How did you coordinate so many amazingly powerful and busy women to be able to get all their bits together on time and all that sort of stuff?
Good question. I don't have a really good answer for that. There were certain ones that I had to chase up for their chapters and bits and pieces, and I did put a cut-off point. It's like, well, if things aren't in by such and such a date, they're just not going in the book, full stop.
Yeah.
And ones who would come back and would want their bio updated in the book, or maybe a new photo put in, and it's like, no, this is the cut-off point. It is what it is now. Maybe if we do a second edition later on, we can use a new photo then, or the new bio, but this is what is going to stay. So there was a lot about being firm in my boundaries.
Yeah.
Otherwise, each time we did a change to the book, it's more money out the door, to relay it out, etc., etc., etc. So I just had to be very, very firm. I found by trial and error what worked really well. I had all the tasks that needed to be done for the book, because I hadn't asked any of these co-authors for money up front. It was a very, perhaps not the best business model financially, but it was what felt completely right to me energetically, vibrationally. I tried for a while of getting people to fit into the task that I wanted done. That actually didn't work. People would volunteer, but then they wouldn't follow through with it for whatever reason. Then I moved to a different system. I just sort of eased myself gently into that, and that was what worked brilliantly, of finding out what people's real strengths were, and then getting those people. Say, for instance, one lady was really good at getting great audios from Facebook, ones that got a lot of attention. So that became her task, and it played to everybody's strengths and what people were good at, rather than trying to fit them into a particular place to do a particular task. So that worked a lot better when I was honouring the ability, the talent, the special expertise of the ladies around me.
So what did you discover as a strength within yourself that maybe you hadn't previously known about during this process?
It's interesting. I've always tended to be very quiet. I'm naturally quite introverted, so I always recharge by being alone, in my private space. So I'd spent most of my life being very quiet, very in the background, not putting myself up there front and centre. And I just had to be up there front and centre. I had to be running the show. I would organise regular co-author group meetings to nut out, things that we had to do, and always, being deleted progress reports of where we're up to and so on.
Yes.
So for me to come from being in the background largely to being up there centre stage, that required me reaching in to find that inner strength and that courage within me. And as I've done with so many things in my life, that when the task is important enough to me, that is when I know that I have to reach down and find something deeper within myself to rise to the occasion. And so many times with what I've done, it's not like a massive jump from one thing to another. It's baby steps every day out of my comfort zone. So maybe just, cold calling a couple of people that I'd like to connect with and see how we can work together. That's like a really simple example.
Yeah.
But each day doing something that's just a little bit uncomfortable, so that gradually when you look back, say 6 months down the track, it's like, wow, I moved a long way, haven't I?
Come a long way, yeah.
Come a long way. So now my comfort zone isn't, the little comfort zone it was originally. It's much bigger. And there are some days where it's comfort zone. What comfort zone? Yeah, just go for it.
So you trusted in guidance, and you pulled these people together. You got the book together. You faced a lot of inner challenges. The book gets released, and then it goes to number one.
Actually, can I just correct you on that? In pre-release, it actually went to number one bestseller in Canada in self-help spiritual.
Oh, really?
Overnight. And that's a wild story.
Wow.
It's like if I had any doubt, which I didn't, that this whole project was being angelically guided. We had the idea was, the marketing strategy was going to be that we just put the Kindle version up on Amazon, just play around with that in the background for a couple of weeks, make sure all the system was working properly, maybe play with the Amazon categories to see which ones were getting a better response. So it was going to be just really quiet in the background. So anyway, the book went up on Amazon, the Kindle version, and I just sort of let the ladies know, the other co-authors, that, just check it out. It's on Amazon now. And we had the pre-order date for a couple of weeks after that. And a couple of them said to me, well, is it okay we tell some of our friends? And I said, yeah, sure. So then I went to bed. This is, most of them in the US market. And the following morning, I woke up and it had gone crazy on Facebook. It was totally crazy. Just the co-authors, some of them, not even all of them, some of them had just put some posts and shared some stuff with their friends. And I suddenly got this book that is hot new release in about 4 different countries. Number 1 hot new release, mind you, not just any old hot new release. So I slept my way to becoming best-selling author. It was so surreal. And I went through this period, like the book's still on pre-order. It's already number 1 in Canada on Amazon. It's very high up in the bestseller rankings in Australia and at the US as well. And I'm thinking, okay, in 2 weeks from now, it's supposed to be triggering this marketing campaign, this formal marketing campaign with, the 60-odd partners that we'd got together, launch partners, the emails that were to go out as broadcasts, the social media posts, the marketing campaign. Like, I'd put a lot of work into this campaign, a lot. That was another major learning curve. And it's like, why were we doing the marketing campaign?
It's already out there.
We've already got a number 1 bestseller in pre-order. How does that even happen? I still don't even know, but it did. And what are we supposed to do now with this marketing campaign? Well, I guess it can't hurt. Maybe we can be number 1 in some more countries. And we were.
Exactly.
So, and then, of course, when the book came out in the paperback version several weeks later, because we had the Christmas New Year period in the middle, that went to number 1 in the UK as well. So we had number 1s in Australia in 2 categories, in Canada and in the UK, and it's so surreal. And I sort of, even now I look back and it's very dreamlike. It's like, okay, well, dishes still need to be done. Still dramas with my daughter on a regular basis. Still got to put the garbage out, all these things which bring you right back down to earth. But it's like,
humbling moments.
Humbling moments, yes, definitely humbling moments.
So for people that don't know much about the book, how do you describe it to them?
Okay. Oh, actually, here's one I prepared earlier.
Oh, good.
Okay. So this is the book that all the fuss is about. We looked for 4 months to get this image for the front cover.
It's
and I think when you look at the image, it describes the book. The book sells through its vibration. The stories are wonderful, of course, but the vibration is pivotal for the sales of the book. So this angel image, it's a beautiful yellow, so the colour of the solar plexus. It's very elegant and graceful, which is, the image of the woman who is beautiful on the inside is, not necessarily even on the outside. A woman in her power, and also the very strong angelic presence. So this is the energy of the book.
Yes.
The book itself, the subtitle that we have, The Emerging Woman's Gateway to Power, Passion and Purpose, that came later on. That wasn't part of the original guidance. The book itself is very much about women who need that extra boost of confidence, inspiration, motivation to move it through to the next level, to follow their dreams, to take their life up level their life. And maybe women who, for instance, in the past who've been making excuses, oh, well, I can't do that, I can't do this thing that I really love to do because I don't have enough money, or I'm not, pretty enough, or, all these other gazillion excuses that we make to ourselves. that in the end, if you hear them enough, you get to a point where these are just excuses, aren't they? And if you just have something like, hopefully this book is for a lot of people, to just give you that little boost to get through to the other side. So all of the co-authors and myself have shared stories in the most vulnerable, raw and authentic way. We had to be very comfortable with being very exposed and authentic through our stories, because we wanted to, just be real. It was very important to be real people, not, some idealized person with a six-figure or seven-figure business with a perfect life and everything's wonderful, because none of us fit into that mold. We're real people with real stuff that happens in our lives. So this was showing how each and every one of these women, all with very different personalities or with very different stories, got often into a dark night of the soul kind of experience, and how they managed to move through that, sometimes by accident, sometimes through particular processes, to get to the other side, and not only to get through the trauma or the challenge or the obstacle, but to find the blessing in it, even if that came a little bit further down the track, and to grow from the experience.
Sorry, I must admit that's something I really enjoyed about it, just having finished reading the book myself, is that it's very dynamic. It takes you through like a roller coaster ride of these people's experiences. And because there's so many sort of packed in there, it's like each chapter isn't particularly long. So you go through this whole whirlwind experience with someone just to sort of come out at the other end to go into another one. And
absolutely,
it's quite fascinating to see how the similarities are with everyone, that you can see certain patterns developing there from author to author, even though their manifest experience is quite different in each case. The overall arching theme is common, and that's what I found very good about it,
And because we're all spiritual teachers in our own right as well, that's part of our ongoing work. All the stories have within them, overtly as well as a lot of covert stuff, beautiful spiritual wisdom, teaching tools, processes, and not just your everyday stuff that you can find in any self-help book anywhere. It's tools and techniques, processes that we have developed ourselves generally, that we have found it benefited us, or that we work with clients, or both. And it's very... to me, it's like the Celestine Prophecy, that, classic book from the 80s, where you can read it on so many different levels.
It's true, yeah, because in this book, there's no one saying, oh, you must do this, or this is, what everyone should be doing. They're saying, this is what I did, and this is what helped me. And if you can gain something from that, fantastic,
Absolutely. Well, I edited this book so many times. Like, it's been professionally edited a number of times. I've edited books in the past too, but I went through this one a number of times, trying to keep the cost of production down as well. And each time I went through it, even though I was really familiar with the chapters and I was really reading to pick up, spacing errors or punctuation or tiny little things, still, depending on where I was at that particular time, I would come across another process in the book and think, oh yeah, that's perfect, I'll try that now. And yeah, that's really good, isn't it? So it's every time you read it, you get something different. In fact, apart from reading it from cover to cover, you can just sort of open it randomly at some page and there'll be something there which is like your message for the day, your inspiration.
Very true. The other thing I liked about it too, both from a marketing perspective and also from someone who loves to explore these ideas, is that at the end of each chapter, and we can show an example of that here at the moment, there's these little links where you can go to find out bonus things and extra information. I don't think I've seen that before. Where did that idea come up from?
Actually, one of the co-authors in this book, who's very well known, her name's Christine Closer. Nice. I read a book of hers a number of years ago called Align, Expand, Succeed, which is a compilation book. So it's a different business structure to this one, and it's not tied into vibration and so on. but she had that idea, and I've seen that several times, and I thought, yeah, it's one thing to have people read the stories and think, okay, well that was nice, and I'll try these processes, and that's great. But especially for people who would like to really get a deeper connection with the various co-authors, someone who's really resonating with that particular person. There's so many opportunities through the book and through getting the co-authors free gifts to get really up close and personal and to reach out, whether it's through social media, through the gifts, through their website, just to, because it's about expanding this network of like-minded people. We've got our Facebook page too. We've got our Embraced by the Divine Facebook page. So that's an open page, and it's for anybody who wants a bit more inspiration, feeling, supported and nurtured in their journey.
Access to resources.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't want to be sort of, stuck in a ivory tower somewhere, wherever that might be. We want to be really approachable to people, so people can get in touch with us, can talk to us, can, have a conversation with us about where they're up to and maybe how we could assist them further, or, just to get in touch with us.
And being open to people's questions on that level sometimes even expands the teachers as well, because people often ask things you hadn't thought of yourself. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so is there going to be a second book?
It's interesting. I was doing a radio interview several months ago, and the lady interviewing me was a psychic medium. Now, she was asking me questions about the book and so on, and then my former partner, my soulmate, who is now on the other side, he started to channel through her during this live radio interview. And it was very, it was funny, we're trying to keep the focus, and he's coming in, downloading all this stuff through her. So apparently there are more books coming. There's one about my spiritual adventures around the world, because I've got heaps of those. It's all a matter of, okay, fine, where do I have the time to do all of this? Yes. And I already have a number of very influential women who have put their hand up and saying, I want to be in the second volume of Embraced by the Divine. At the moment, I just need a little bit of time out from it, because it was a massive, massive journey. I got to the point of complete
about
burnout.
8 months now, something like that.
Yeah. We came out just before Christmas,
right.
And the soft cover came out in January. And then I did a book launch in Melbourne, and then a few other things. I got to the point I just crashed and burned it. All that adrenaline that I'd been running on for ages, it just stopped. So I've taken a little bit of a step back for about a month or two, and now I'm just ready to go, full bore with it again. So I'm sure there will be another one. But
on top of this, you will have your private clients as well.
Absolutely, and my online Radiant Circle group, and so it's a very full life. Of course, I'm choosing that.
Yes,
I'm not
exactly.
I can step out whenever I want to, but I thoroughly enjoy what I do, so that's really important.
Fantastic. Now let's let people know where they can get the book from. Firstly, where can people best get that?
Okay. I would like to offer people who are listening to Soul Radio as a freebie to start off with. Go. So on my embracedbythedivine.com website, I've set up a special page which is embracedbythedivine.com/soul to soul. So it's soul number 2 soul, no spaces. And there you can just opt in and get a free chapter of the book. It's my chapter. It's called Who Am I to Shine? And it's me moving through all my levels of fear about stepping out in a bigger way, or a lot of levels. Have been more coming up since then. It's an ongoing journey. So people can get a free chapter of the book.
Oh, fantastic.
And if you just want to hop straight on and grab the book as it is now, there are 2 ways you can get it. You can get it either just go on to embracedbythedivine.com and you'll be able to click on a link and find out heaps more information about the book. Or you can get it through Amazon directly, and just go onto Amazon and write in the search bar Embraced by the Divine, and it comes up. There's two versions.
We'll put that up on the screen now for us so everybody can see that. Fantastic.
Yeah, so there's the two versions. There's the Kindle version and there's the paperback version. If people are in Australia and they want the paperback version, it's probably quickest and cheaper to just order directly from me, and you'll find the details on the Embraced by the Divine website. Fantastic. Anyway. For everybody else, it will be purchased through Amazon, whether through the website or directly from Amazon.
Fantastic. Now, if people want to see you privately, how can they best contact you?
Okay, so we're not confusing people with all sorts of different links and everything. The website is my Melbourne-based website, is angelwingshealing.com. So it's angelwings-healing.com, and you can contact me through that, or you can contact me through embracedbythedivine.com/contact. So there are lots and lots of ways of getting in touch with me.
And we've got all those links showing currently on our screens here, so everyone have got no excuse not to get in touch with Michelle. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been a wonderful pleasure having you in our studio.
It's been a pleasure being here, Steve. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.